On today's Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM, the freshmen who could dominate the NCAA tournament. There are a bunch, and there are some very important ones, especially in that East region. Also, did Michigan's best player turn down triple his money from Kentucky to go to Michigan? He says he did. Also on Megaboard Wednesday, Alabama will have to play without its most accurate three-point shooter in the NCAA tournament. What do the Tide do now? Plus, Nebraska fans prepare for the possibility of winning a game in the NCAA tournament for the first time. We check in on the Nebraska ball, folks. All on today's Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. This show is sponsored by BetMGM, and the Cavender twins are facing off in BetMGM's Court of Legends game. And you can enter BetMGM's Pick a Twin to Win free-to-play game for a chance to win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. Here's how to get this offer in 3 easy steps. Opt in to the Pick a Twin to Win free-to-play game. Select which Cavender twin, either Haley or Hannah, you think will win the one-on-one game at the bank at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. If the twin you select wins the game, you'll win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. Also, starting Thursday, odds boost token for March matchups. You know what that means. Lock in for every game and make your March moment when you bet with boosted odds. Activate your odds boost token for any March matchups bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Here's how it works. Your March matchups odds boost token has already been dropped into your BetMGM account. No opt-in is necessary. Add a March matchups bet up to the specified maximum stake to your bet slip. Then activate the token. If you win your bet with the token activated, you'll score extra winnings. So lots of fun things from BetMGM in one of the biggest sports weeks of the year. So make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. And Ari, we are a day away from the start of the NCAA tournament proper. Yes, I know the first 4 has started. I know actually 2 pretty good games. Howard outlasting UMBC, Texas hitting, it wasn't quite a buzzer beater. I think it was 1.1 seconds left to beat NC State and send Will Wade into, well, are we on Will Wade watch at LSU, or maybe he's just retooling at NC State? I guess we'll find out. We may find out later today. But the tournament has started, but as you know, we are the 4 teams podcast. So the tournament starts Thursday. So we are a day away.
Yeah. The tournament doesn't start until Daddy touches down in Las Vegas. So I'm super excited about it. But I am looking forward to tonight's game because I think Miami, Ohio is inherently interesting based on the conversations that we were having about them the last month. And I'm looking forward to watching the game on Wednesday night. So, yes, but this is the best time of year, and it does feel like almost a national holiday. I don't know,
Oh, it's National Vasectomy Day. Happy National Vasectomy Day.
Is it really?
Well, it should be. If it's not, like, if it's not officially recognized, if the why am I blanking on the name for a doctor who handles your man plumbing?
Urologist.
Urologist. If the National Urologist Society has not declared this National Vasectomy Day, I don't know what they're waiting for, because that's what it is. Because you get the vasectomy and you get 2 days of frozen peas on your crotch watching basketball.
Yeah, Wednesday's a good day to do it. I've never known this, but like if you go to medical school and like you go to medical school first before you decide your field, right? Like you decide to go to medical school, and then
usually toward the end of med school, you've decided which field you'd kind of like to aim toward, because you have rotations late in medical school where you,
what's the calculus
you get to try things out.
When you decide, I think I'm going to go down the hog route. Like, I don't know. I've always wondered that. I'm thankful for them.
Yes.
You know, I'm happy that they did. I just don't know. Like, it's like, how do you decide I'm going to be a foot guy or I'm going to be a hog guy? I don't know. But, you know, thankful to all you urologists out there. And hopefully if you did get a vasectomy and you listen to the show, it is happening on Wednesday. So you can enjoy the tournament for a few days. So
exactly. Yes. In peace. No one bothering you. Just watching basketball, which is the dream of everyone. If we're being real here. Ari, we can talk about the tournament itself. The thing it does is make stars, and it's been really interesting, this one and done era where we haven't really gotten a chance to see these really great future NBA players in multiple tournaments. Like Grant Hill, when I was a kid, I watched Grant Hill in multiple NCAA tournaments. Like when he was a freshman, that's when he had I don't think it was supposed to be an alley-oop, but it was an alley-oop against Kansas in the national title game. And then you got to see him again and again and again. We don't get to see that as much anymore. And these freshmen that could blow up in this tournament, we're probably going to see them in the NBA next year. We're probably not going to get to see them in the NCAA tournament again unless there's some serious NIL money thrown their way. But I want to talk about this because our guy Joe Tipton at On3, he's the guy who makes the edits for all these people and has become one of the best college basketball insiders out there. And he's the one who basically told the world where all these guys were going. He's got a list of 8 freshmen who could blow up in the tournament, who could dominate the tournament. And I'm very excited to see this because really we have these guys are good anyway. A lot of them are leading very good teams. A lot of them are jockeying for position in the NFL or in the NBA draft. So there's a lot of subplots and layers to this. But we talked about AJ DeBonsa from BYU last week and how it felt like in the Big 12 tournament, he was kind of making his play for the number 1 pick overall. But Darryn Peterson's the guy who's been presumed to be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA. We talked about him a bunch, kind of middle of the Big 12 schedule, because Kansas was kind of playing without him sometimes. He was taking himself out of games. It feels like all that's calmed down. And I think Bill Self handled that situation about as masterfully as one could. But Darryn Peterson now has a chance to show us, hey, this is why everybody thinks I'm going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And they've got California Baptist first, Ari. That's on Friday. But if they win, they're probably playing St. John's. And if they win that one, there's a good chance it's Duke. So we're going to get a lot of Darryn Peterson. If they're winning, we're either going to get a bunch of Darryn Peterson as a star, or we're going to get, he got knocked out early. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Also, all the drama that happens in January and February as it pertains to like his career arc at Kansas is completely irrelevant to what happens in the next 3 or 4 games. So if he goes out and he plays really well and leads Kansas to the Sweet 16 Final Four and, has his 30-point games and shows out, like all that stuff that happened before becomes like old news and certainly doesn't matter. So like if I'm him, I'm probably pretty excited about the opportunity to rewrite my story a little bit because, you are a one and done player. You don't spend a lot of time on that campus. What are people going to remember? Are they going to remember what happened in November? Or are they going to remember what happened in March? So I'm excited to see Kansas and, all these players, the entire list of 8 guys and the honorable mention area too that Joe had. It's fascinating because I do think that, in college basketball, it's harder to maintain a memory or a relationship with a player. I was like looking back at my Twitter feed, and Aaron Kraft, the basketball player that I covered at Ohio State, was like a 4-year guy who was like a point guard who played really tough defense. And I'm assuming
Tennessee fans remember Aaron Kraft very well because of a cookout he attended one time.
Yeah, I think he's a medical doctor now, but I don't know if he does hog though. But the thing I think that is interesting about him is that he wasn't an NBA player, but he was around and was a sustained fixture of the program for 4 years. And I think that as a result of that, like Ohio State people have a connection with him that, you know, they remember him as an Ohio State basketball legend. And now if you are a really good player, and now these players that are on this list are a little bit higher caliber in terms of like NBA ceiling and stuff, but like you really do only get like a 4-month, 5-month relationship with these guys, and then they're off to something else. And I know that's not new to college basketball, but it's certainly becoming more prevalent, not just for the NBA, but for one and dones in like the NIL era. And like, this is your chance to savor your guys, because like if they lose in the first or second round, it's like you paid all this money to Darryn Peterson, and it's like, what did you really get back? Like, I almost feel like the tournament runs now are they've always been high stakes. The sudden death aspect of this is what makes it so exciting. But like, the sudden death aspect of this too is also going to have a huge impact on ROI on these players.
And if you're one and done lottery type guy or top 5 type guy, like Carmelo Anthony is the ideal. You want to be the guy who comes in, leads your team to a national title. Like Carmelo Anthony is a legend at Syracuse forever, even though he was only there 1 year. And
I mean, for 6 months almost, it felt like probably.
Yeah. That's the goal. That's what you want to be. I laughed though. Speaking of Darryn Peterson, Zuby Ejiofor is not a freshman. He was a freshman at Kansas. He transferred to St. John's, and now he was the Big East Player of the Year this year. Did you catch the sports pope Mike Francesa explaining why Zuby Ejiofor left Kansas?
No, I didn't see it, but I would love to see it if we have a clip, or I'll go find it.
He said, well, I can just tell you. He said he got tired of sitting behind Joel Embiid at Kansas. Didn't want to sit behind Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has been in the NBA for, I think, 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't get, is this guy, I don't understand that guy's shtick. He's just funny, right?
No, he's sort of a pioneer. Like he and Chris Russo pioneered modern American sports talk radio with their show, Mike and the Mad Dog on WFAN in New York. But I think obviously things have gone on a little bit, and he's good on the stuff he knows about. But when he delves into college basketball, on the rare occasion he delves into college football, not his area of expertise. So
yeah, I do feel like maybe in New York you get a pass for that because it's not really a big deal there. Yeah, but I feel like the general sports fan is known that Embiid has been in the NBA for a long time. Like that's a wild thing not to know.
I mean, look, maybe it's a Charles Bediako situation. He thinks Zuby Ejiofor has been in college for 13 years. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But let's talk about some of these other freshmen.
But hey, Darius, before you move on, I just want you to see. You should like Google like prank calls into a show because that is really funny.
They're tremendous.
Yeah,
so good. Yeah, if you want to follow somebody on Twitter @back after this. Just clips Mike Francesa constantly. the only the funniest. He's moved on to Cowherd because Francesa doesn't have as many shows anymore. But it's spectacular.
Really great when you call in and the first part of the question is like something that sounds like it will be a serious question. Like it's like, hey Mike, in regards to the Yankees lineup, I was just wondering how much.
Did you ever go to medical school and consider treating Hog?
Yeah, like it's just like it always ends up with a question about Hog, and I don't know how. I told this story on the show I think before, but like when I was in college, there was a hacker into the Pac-12 teleconference. Every week the coaches go on for 10 minutes. I don't know if the fans are aware of this, but for reporters, you get a chance to talk to all the coaches in the country for 10 minutes at a time once a week. And you can call in. There's a teleconference number and there's a passcode. And some guy called in when I was like 20 years old. And I was it was the Pac-12 at the time. And Pete Carroll was still the coach, I believe. So
it was Pac-10. Yeah.
It was Pac-10, not Pac-12. Sorry. It was Pac-10 teleconference. And some guy called in from Ballsack Sports. Which sounds funny.
Still like, exists, by the way, on Twitter.
And he goes, "Hey, coach, in regards to the Pac-10, how many of your players are packing 10 in their shorts?"
Oh my god! I'm sure Pete Carroll handled it with aplomb.
But anyway,
well,
sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
One guy who's never been prank called, John Calipari. Although he probably has. He's been a long career. Probably done a lot of radio shows through his career. But Darius Acuff Jr., we were talking about him the other day, Arkansas's best player. He is out freaking standing, and I am excited to see what he can do in this tournament. Now, Arkansas had a nice little run last year in the tournament. Can they go as deep this year? Because, again, a lot of it's your draw. A lot of it is just how good of a day do you have on the day. But Acuff's one of those guys that I feel like can lead you a long way in the NCAA tournament.
Does he have, so just so you know, I think I made this clear the other day when we had John Ewing on, but like Arkansas is my horse this year. Yeah, they have one of the best players in the country. They have a coach that's been in these situations, and they are a long shot. Now, I don't know, maybe the horse will get shot in the kneecap on the first game. I have no idea. But what
it's
people
not that long of a shot. They're 5 seed.
Yeah, no, I know, but like odds wise, they're a pretty big long shot. And I think part of the reason
they're a 4 seed. They're a 4 seed.
Yeah. Part of the reason why is they're facing Arizona if they advance, probably. And what people don't know, fun fact about Arizona, is it doesn't matter how good they are, they will lose in the Sweet 16 every year. So it is like that was part of the thought process. But if
Arkansas gets past Hawaii, they got to play Wisconsin, which would be a very tough matchup anyway.
They're going to have tough matchups all the way. And my understanding of Arkansas is they've got really good top line talent, but maybe depth is kind of an issue for them. We'll see.
They play 7 guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But if he turns in, like, someone's going to create this bracket and turn it into their stage, and like Acuff seems like somebody who could really do that. The question I really do have is, how will they match up against, bigger teams, and are they, able to maybe get a Cinderella win or two? So I don't know, but
yeah,
they had a really good run in the SEC. I mean, they won the SEC tournament. And I think
they
that's
did.
a pretty good indication. They made that run last year. I don't know what you think about John Calipari's. Like I said, like, how is he viewed? He's more viewed as like a talent accumulator than he is like a great motivational coach, right?
Right, but I think he's been rejuvenated here at Arkansas. It felt like everything was tired and old and not working anymore at Kentucky. And I don't know if it was just I don't even think it was he was selecting the wrong players. There were good players, but like, the Kentucky fans were always complaining about his lineup combinations. He could never quite figure out the right lineup.
And I think maybe it was
figured out at Arkansas.
Like of just like maybe overstaying your welcome. It's like you go stay the weekend at your friend's house, and by Sunday you're ready to go. Maybe that's like the coaching equivalent of it, of like maybe people just need a fresh start every now and then. But I don't know if like college basketball, like insiders would view John Calipari as somebody that you would bet on from a motivational standpoint in the NCAA tournament, or if his success at Kentucky was predicated on mostly having better players than the opponents. And they're going to have to overcome some things, I think, from a depth standpoint in this tournament. But for a 45-1, 50-1 long shot, like that's a pretty good team and a really exciting player.
And speaking of depth, let's talk about Duke, because Cam Boozer is one of the best freshmen in the country. He might be my favorite freshman in the country. It feels like he can do everything.
We're so old.
He's won at every level. We're all old. Carlos Boozer's son, his brother Cayden, also a freshman at Duke, and Cayden figures prominently into this as well, because Caleb Foster, Duke's starting point guard, is out with a broken foot. They basically say there's a tiny sliver of a chance that if they make the Final Four, Caleb Foster could be back. But it's interesting because Cam Boozer is the guy that Joe Tipton wrote about, the guy everybody's gonna be watching because he is still Duke's best player. But his brother might be the most important one right now, because he's got to pick up the slack for the starting point guard.
Yeah. 2 Boozers is better than 1, right? So
I would say so.
And Duke is just a program that seemingly has not dropped off. Last year, their team was one of the best teams I think I've ever seen, and they didn't get it done. So we'll see.
But see, okay, this is what I was thinking though about, when the Foster injury happened, I thought about that Duke Houston game last year in the semifinals, because that was a case of a young team melting down against an old team that was punching it in the mouth. And Duke was obviously more talented. I mean, we've seen those guys play in the NBA already. Like we've seen what Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel can do. We know how good they are. We saw how good they were last season. But they in that moment when they were playing a team that was more experienced and knew what to do, they could not handle the pressure. And Foster's an older guy. And I was thinking, okay, now you may be moving to having a freshman bring the ball up the court in that situation versus an older guy doing that. Like, I was thinking Foster could be the difference between what happened at the end of last year and that not happening again.
Well, maybe he'll be
you,
back
you
to be in
on
that
a freshman
situation, because like it's possible if you said there's a sliver of hope he could be back in the Final Four, maybe they will have that veteran presence. But
now that East bracket is rough. Like to get to the Final Four, they're gonna have to beat whoever wins Ohio State TCU, which is not gonna be. I always think that the 8-9 winner is tricky for the one. I don't care who the one is, but that one I'm not as worried about. But then you're looking in the Sweet 16 at Kansas or Louisville potentially, and then maybe UConn in the Elite Eight.
Is this the most stacked region?
It is, and they're the number 1 overall seed, and it feels like they're being a little rough on the number 1 overall seed.
I don't mean this specific year on how good the teams are, but I don't think I remember in the past a region that had so many traditional powers in one region. UConn, UCLA, Michigan State, Louisville, Kansas, and Duke are all in the same region.
And St. John's.
And St. John's is in there, and then you have it's just a lot of star power, a lot of good coaches, and
Yeah. That's why I don't consider this a cakewalk for Duke.
For anyone.
And I mean, I don't think anybody does. But it is going to be fun to watch Cam Boozer because he's just, I mean, he's so freaking good. He's good at everything and he plays hard. It's not the same as Cooper Flagg last year, where he was just immensely more talented than everybody else. Cam Boozer is more talented than most of the other players on the court, but it's not as big of a gap. But the way he plays his basketball IQ so high, like it's going to be fun. Some of these other ones that Joe Tipton mentioned, Brayden Burries from your alma mater, Arizona. We weren't sure who the best freshman was going to be on this team, whether it was going to be Koa Pete or Brayden Burries, but he has emerged down the stretch, and Arizona is a star-studded team.
Yeah. 2 players, because Pete is also on this list, and will be interesting. Maybe this will be the season that Arizona actually breaks through and makes a run. And I don't know if this is just like don't they always seemingly have to play Wisconsin in the Sweet 16? I feel like they've got every single year. It does feel
that way.
They play Wisconsin all the time, and that might be. My hope is that it's Arkansas, obviously for personal reasons, but we'll see what happens for Arizona. But I'll tell you, man, I've got a lot of Arizona fans, and I think they're ready for a run. I mean, 1997 was a long time ago, and it is a place that has had a lot of really good players and a lot of very good teams over the course of the past 20 years, and they just have not been able to break through. And like ever since Lute Olson stepped down, I don't think they've been to the Final Four since, right? So like it is when you have, and they have teams all the time. They have, but I feel like this might be one of the better teams that they've had since I've left college in 2009. So I'm rooting for them, and I'd like to see them do well. I want my friends to be happy, and that said, I will be rooting for Arkansas if they play them in the Sweet 16.
All my friends from college were happy last year. I don't know how. Do they deserve more happiness? Well, I actually think Florida.
College are spoiled,
I think Florida has a really good chance of going very deep and possibly winning it all again. But
I don't know if this is like a messed up thought process, but if your team has a really good football program, like I don't care like about you and like your feelings in the basketball season. Like I don't feel bad for Florida fans.
Nobody should feel bad for them. I mean, they've enjoyed some success that other
Arizona
programs fans haven't gotten to enjoy.
99% of the time, Arizona doesn't have a football season. So like this is like their thing. And I root for basketball places that this is their thing to be successful more. Like Miami, if they get knocked out in the first round, you had your fun. Like let Mizzou get something. You know what I mean?
Talking about Miami, Florida, not Miami, Ohio.
Florida. Yes. Yeah. We're talking about the West region. Sorry. I should have specified. But yeah. I'm looking at some of the, like Arkansas, for instance. I would love to see Arkansas make another run because they've been tortured in football for a while. Now, they've had some excitement with the new coach coming in and all those things. But I like to see it spread around a little bit.
Well, and Arkansas, think about this. 32 years since a basketball championship for Arkansas.
Yeah.
32 years.
They're investing a lot of
1994 was even farther away than 1997.
They also have recently invested into the basketball program more than they had been doing in the previous 10 years too. So and they're seeing the result of that. Now, I do laugh What year was it? Was it 06 when Ohio State and Florida played in both national titles? Has that happened again since?
No.
That was badass.
It was pretty incredible. Okay, well, it was 06 at the end of the football season, then 07 in the basketball season.
Yeah, but it was the same. But those were the seasons intertwined.
Yes, and it was just wild to watch that, and you knew Ohio State how good they were going to be, and Florida was coming off winning the championship. So that one, the basketball national championship, felt like something that was easier to predict than the football one, because I don't think anybody thought Florida was going to play for the football national championship when that season started.
Yeah, the Florida basketball, they were back to back, if I remember correctly, weren't they?
Yeah, that was the second of the back to backs for the basketball team.
Yeah, they had that was the Joe Kim Noah years.
Yeah, that was I was a beat writer. I will still say the most fun group I've ever covered. Most fun group of human beings. Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Lee Humphrey, Chris Richard, Torian Green. Like, those guys were so much fun. Corey Brewer.
Say this, Andy, because we both are unique in that we've covered both sports, and been on a beat for both sports. And I enjoy covering football more because football's better. But when you are covering a team that's making a run in the NCAA tournament in basketball, you do feel like you get a better sense of what it's like in the locker room, because there's so many open locker rooms. So many access. Like, you actually
from the conference tournament on, you are really talking to everybody every day.
Talking to everybody every day, and you're in their locker room, and like they let you into the locker room like after they win an NCAA tournament game, like 10 minutes after the game's over. Like, you get like a really good sense of like who people are, how they celebrate, who's funny. It's like, I feel like it's a more intimate setting. Like and I think because of that, because reporters get that access and because reporters get that sense, it also translates to the fans getting it too, because we're able to report and write and talk about the things that we've seen and experienced. And I think that it becomes more easy for fans to read through all those things and feel closer to the team as well. So there is nothing like covering a run to the Final Four, which I've had the pleasure of doing before in my life.
Yeah, I felt like I knew that team better than any team I'd ever covered. And I think you're right. It's because of the access and how much time I spent around them. And you really do get to know them as people.
Condensed amount of time too. Like in football, you might get an availability for somebody in June, and then you might not see them again until September, and then maybe every other week or every 3 weeks. Where in basketball, they're having open locker rooms like 5 days in a row, 4 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? So it's a lot. Anyway, sometimes I like doing a little inside.
Hey, we got some Butterburger breaking news.
Oh yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Butterburger breaking news. USF coach Bryan Hodgson, who we talked about on the show the other day. We played the clip of him with Field of 68 talking about how he was going to find the coaches who were tampering with Bulls players, and they were going to have a face-to-face conversation, and he has a particular set of skills that can make him a nightmare for people like you. Well, Bryan Hodgson turned down the Syracuse job, according to Jeff Goodman of Field of 68. And now he is down to staying at USF, which, by the way, USF opens NCAA tournament play against Louisville in the first round. They're an 11 seed. Louisville's 6 seed. It's an old school Big East matchup, or old school American Athletic Conference matchup before Louisville left for the ACC. And they're opening the NCAA tournament. Now, this would be a huge deal, obviously, if he can advance the Bulls in the NCAA tournament, because it's not a program that has had a lot of success at all. And they've had tragedy. Their coach passed away a few years ago. And so you got that dynamic working. USF has a really good new athletic director in Rob Higgins, and they're really putting a lot of resources into football. You've seen them when they put more resources in men's basketball. Brian Hartline taking over the football program. So they're very excited about what's going on in Tampa. The idea that the coach at USF would turn down Syracuse was unthinkable.
Well, I wanted
3 years ago
to explain this to me in plain English on what's the how. I don't know why.
Well, Syracuse is a tough job. Syracuse is a very tough job now in the ACC for reasons that we've talked about. And the dynamics, though, are the same for USF here because Syracuse is not the only suitor. We don't know yet what's going to happen with the Providence job, but it sounds like Bryan Hodgson is also a candidate for the Providence job. So Providence just fired Kim English, Big East school, good basketball tradition. Rick Pitino coached there. He coached Billy Donovan as a player there, but they've Ryan Gomes, like they've had Sham God. They've had really good players through the years at Providence. They care deeply about basketball, and they do not have a football team. And so This is why I picked this as our Butterburger breaking news segment presented by Culver's, and we'll talk about how you can come see us with Culver's next month. But this is an interesting case study. We were talking the other day about that Kevin Willard situation when he left Maryland to take the Villanova job. Because did you want to fight with Mike Loxley over rev share money, or did you want to go somewhere where they care deeply about basketball and they're going to put most of the money toward basketball? That is what Bryan Hodgson probably winds up deciding. If he has to decide between staying at USF and going to Providence, it's all going to basketball. That's the one they care about. USF, which is, again, good new AD, has been a pretty good NIL program since NIL started, given where it is in the world. Can they do enough to convince Bryan Hodgson, you're going to have enough, and Brian Hartline's going to have enough?
Well, let me ask you this. My understanding of Syracuse basketball is that's one of the 15 most iconic basketball programs in college football history. Is that a correct assumption?
College basketball. Yes, but there is the idea that it was Jim Boeheim was just magical. There is that idea that, and that even with Jim Boeheim, once they moved to the ACC, everything changed.
Oh, I can't think of moving to Syracuse from Tampa either. That would be kind of a rough move.
Well, Providence from Tampa, you're better Italian food, but still cold.
Isn't the weather way worse at Syracuse?
Bryan Hodgson, by the way, lived in Buffalo for a long time. So
okay, so he gets it. Yeah,
yeah. He was assistant for Nate Oates, so he was at Buffalo with Nate Oates.
The thing with Jim Boeheim is that guy would beat the crap out of you, but he would never come out and say it. That guy was terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
When Jim Boeheim got angry, I remember I was at the NCAA tournament one year, Andy, and Jim Boeheim went on one of his epic rants, and I was like in the other room, and it was so loud. You know how like the press area, the work area,
there's those black curtains.
There's a curtain. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to get up. Like,
I'm scared now.
It's in the middle of a 3-minute rant about something. I can't remember what it was, but Hodgson seems like somebody who could fit in well there. If you don't do what he says.
Well, yeah, and he fit in at Buffalo, and like comes from the Nate Oates tree. So I do think that there's a chance that works at Providence, where you can go and you've got these people, Providence fans. I'm trying to compare them to a football fan base. They can get nasty is the way I'm trying to explain it. Like, so their coach left for Georgetown a couple jobs ago, and it was a thing. Like, they are just, every time they play, they are on him. So they are a demanding fan base, but they're a program that is going to pour resources into basketball. And so Rob Higgins at USF, their new AD, he's got to make sure he can convince Brian, because this would be a huge coup if Bryan Hodgson would stay at USF. It would mean a lot for that program. And this is an athletic program that has bigger aspirations. Like it expects to be in a bigger conference sooner rather than later. They're building an on-campus football stadium. They're not going to be playing in Raymond James Stadium for football for long. They have made massive improvements in their basketball program, as you've seen, evidenced by them being in the NCAA tournament right now. So this will be a really interesting situation to watch, because this is exactly what we talked about.
You don't see this type of thing often. So if he stays at USF, here's the one thing that people understand. Coaches are climbers. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, there aren't a lot of coaches that are like, I'm good here. Yep. So like, you don't see this very often, and I was unaware that there was a thought process that Syracuse was more of a dead end than a opportunity in some cases.
Well, it's also because of the stuff we talked about. It's what we talked about the other day with the Kevin Willard thing, where he was at Maryland, which is a Big Ten school, which you think, oh, they've got all the money in the world. But Villanova is going to pour more into basketball than Maryland may, because at Maryland, you've got to also deal with your football team, which is trying to compete in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Syracuse is trying to compete in the ACC in football. That's expensive. That's hard to do. And they, can they pour into basketball enough versus, say, Providence, which doesn't have a football team to worry about?
Cuse is a basketball school, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Proud football tradition. Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Donovan McNabb.
They've had players.
Really good football teams.
But so what is the, like how in high school football recruiting, like you have your hotbed areas, like Florida and Texas and Ohio and certain states, Georgia.
Yeah.
Isn't New York City that for basketball?
Yes.
So I always thought
it's like Atlanta or Houston. Everybody's in there.
Yeah. But Syracuse has actually had fairly advantageous geography too in basketball in a way that they are in no man's land in football.
Right. Yes. But they're out of it.
Yeah.
And I think him saying, no, thank you, I'm going to decide between these two, is probably telling us what the coaching world thinks about that job right now. So
I'll have to go see a Syracuse message board when we're done here.
It's a hard job. And I think people have understood now how great Boeheim was. And he was doing the 2-3 zone, people complained about it, but that may have been what was keeping them. But it's almost like running the option in football.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't put butts in the seats. So this will be interesting to watch.
I've always
Bryan
had Jerry
Hodgson's
McNamara, and I'm excited to see what happens here with Hodgson. And of course,
Jerry McNamara, by the way, coach at Siena, he's in the tournament now.
Really? Wow. Jeez. God, we're old. Yeah, no, it'll be fun to see. And of course, seeing stories like this is fun. I don't love that everyone's always climbing all the time. And I do like to see some of these non-traditional programs advance. So, we got 24 hours until the tournament starts, and I cannot wait.
Well, the tournament, by the way, they're playing to get to Indianapolis. You can see us in Indianapolis April 4th, the day of the semis, from the Culver's Game Day Hub in downtown Indy. It's going to be so much fun. We'll have special guests. We'll be doing a show from there. If you saw us at the draft last year with Culver's, and I know some of you came by and said hi, it was so much fun. This was the most fun on any remote we've done, any sponsor event we've done. Culver's does it right. They're amazing partners. There's frozen custard, there's Butterburgers, there's cheese curds. Oh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. But April 4th, you can come see us at the Culver's Game Day Hub in downtown Indy. If you can't get to Indy right now, you can enter the Culver's Swish Swish Dish Sweepstakes for a chance to win up to $2,500. So if you can't make it, enter the sweepstakes. If you can, by all means, come by and say hi. If your team makes it to Indy, make an appointment on Saturday to come see us. You don't have to make an appointment. Just show up. We'll be right there. We'll have some frozen custard. It'll be delicious.
Yeah, it's called a custard appointment.
That's exactly right. I should just make custard appointments regularly.
I do. Well, usually around 1 a.m.
The Culver's in my town, the line is around the block constantly. It is just a wrapped around the store always at the drive-thru.
I was driving to the casino with a buddy on Saturday from Dallas, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes north up in Oklahoma. I'm sure you've been there, Andy. You've been everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But on the way, there's a Culver's, and my buddy goes, "Have you ever eaten that?" And I was like, "Funny you should ask." It's a sponsor of our podcast, and it is amazing. And we went, and I took him there just so he could experience it. And he's like, "Yeah, that's the best fast food burger I think I've ever had." And I was like, "Yeah, it's really good."
Exactly.
We're helping
and I'm so happy that they're spreading throughout the country now. So a lot of expansion in Florida, in Texas, and Arizona, obviously in the Midwest, well known. Everybody knows Culver's in the Midwest, but a lot of the rest of the country getting to know what the people in the Midwest have been lucky enough to experience. So
elite fast food is a scalable thing right now. As a fast food connoisseur, it's getting worse out there. Culver's is raising the bar, and there's a reason they're expanding and being so successful doing it. So I can't wait. Come out and see us. We're going to be, hanging out in one of the best basketball towns.
When a big event is going on is a great place anyway. So we're going to have a good time. April 4th, join us at the Culver's Game Day Hub. All right. It is Megaboard Wednesday. Let us travel through the boards. It wouldn't be a Megaboard Wednesday this time of year without one from our friends at KSR at Kentucky Sports Radio. This one, and this came out in a story by the Associated Press, and the fine folks at the KSR, the KSR membership seized upon this. So Comeback Cats 98 posted this. They read this story on Yaxel Lendeborg, the Michigan big man. Basically, Yaxel Lendeborg says that when he was transferring from UAB, he was offered between $7 and $9 million by Kentucky. Ended up choosing Michigan for significantly less. The way it's said in the story, the way he explained it, it sounds like he basically could have tripled his money at Kentucky, or at least doubled it. And he chose Michigan and Dusty May. And it's not so much what he said is how the Kentucky fans reacted to it. Because I think in normal circumstances, you'd say, oh, this guy's just making all this up. He's just trying to make himself look better. He's trying to make himself look humble. And I took less money because I thought it was going to be developed. That's not what happened here. There's like one Kentucky fan in the thread that said, what if he's just making these numbers up? Everybody else is like, sounds reasonable to me. And they're just, it's more reason for them to be down on their program. But that's the question I have for you, Ari. If somebody offers you double, triple the money, would you turn it down because you believed you were in a better place elsewhere? Now, remember, this is not a forever situation. This is not like your grown-up job where somebody's offering you triple your money and you don't know if there's another payday coming. Yaxel Lendeborg's going to be an NBA player, so he knows there's a big payday coming at the end of the rainbow.
I think it's yeah. So my reaction to this, I don't know if you saw Dan Wolken got into it a little bit with some people on Twitter about it, but like I agreed with him. I don't think it's a reasonable decision.
You think he should have gone to Kentucky?
I think it's unreasonable to take because when you say 2 or 3 times the money, it depends on the scale of what that money is too. It's like is it right. 600,000 to 200,000? Like when you start getting into the millions,
yeah,
like it's an unreasonable amount of money to turn down because it's not like you're going to a place that's not good at basketball. Like it's an insane decision to me. If that's
Kentucky
true.
Reportedly spent $22 million on this roster and didn't get great results. Now, obviously, they're still in the tournament. So it's not like their season's done. They have a chance to win the national title just like everybody else that's in the tournament. But they're obviously a lower seed. They've had flaws. Now, if you have Lendeborg, maybe you don't have as many flaws if you're Mark Pope's team.
I mean, we're also talking about one of the best players in college basketball being added to your roster. So, like, it's like not fair because you can.
Right, but did he do what he – because I'm with you on the money part, but if you thought Dusty May was going to use you better and maybe get you drafted higher, is that not worth it?
I mean, I guess I don't know what the draft multiples are in terms of like, I mean, NBA money's insane money. So maybe it is like,
and really it still depends on if you get drafted in the right situation, because that second NBA contract is where you really just, we talk about second NFL contract all the time. No, second NBA contract is the place to be.
I don't know if I'm just like weird, but like you can tear your ACL in Ann Arbor as easily as you can in Lexington. So like, it's just like part of me too, is just like, if we're talking about $9 million, and then taking 3.5, like that's an insane decision to make, because $5.5 million is like retirement money. Like you could retire on $5.5 million. I'm not saying you'd live a lavish lifestyle, but like if everything went as badly as possible at Kentucky, you would still have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Like I still think I also think in basketball too, like if you are a quarterback and somebody wants to bring you into an offense that runs the ball 80% of the time, like I feel like in football, the isn't going to use me properly is more pronounced than it is in basketball.
Right. Because the scheme is in basketball. It doesn't matter how strict somebody, well, I guess maybe if you're playing for Boeheim and you're going to play in that 2-3 zone, but they have, their offensive scheme is different. I guess if you offensively in basketball, maybe like the Pete Carril system, maybe you don't feel like you'd be used. But everybody else is very flexible, and
he's a big man.
Player.
He's a big man. So
you feed your best player. You work your offense, or you run your offense. Like he's a good passer too. You run your offense through him. So
like I didn't go to medical school, and I did not choose to work on hog. But like one thing I will say is, by the way, that's the show's theme.
That's the whole show.
Andy, is that like, if he's on your team, you feed the offense through him. Like that's just what a coach would do. So, and then maybe Kentucky would be a 3 seed if he was on the team. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And well, would they be spending more on their roster? Probably not. They probably just move that money around as based on who was willing to take it.
Yeah, you have to also like go back and relitigate like when these contracts were offered and the amounts that were offered as a result of like the succession of who was offered at first and all that. Like, I don't know what the roster would look like if this is true, but when I first read that, I thought that's probably not true. But if it is, it's unreasonable on your part to not. That's my opinion. But if he gets taken number 5 overall because he went to Michigan, then this $5 million is kind of not that big of a deal in the long run. Then it worked out for him. Then I hope.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. If you think you're gonna be a 10-year NBA player or a more than 10-year NBA player, $5 million it is so much money to all of us. But in the grand scheme of your life, it's not going to be that much.
But at the same time, I think taking for granted that you're just going to be a 10-year NBA player is such an insane way of thinking. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like, how many great players have come through college basketball that
and flamed out. You're right.
Greg Oden wasn't a 10-year player. He made plenty of money, but like, you have guys that were big men.
Well, yeah, and Greg Oden had chronic knee problems. Like he was never going to last that long.
I mean,
but yes, I agree with you. So yeah, it would be. I personally don't think I could turn it down. I think I'd have to take it.
I think it's unreasonable. Yeah.
I mean, listen, that's the beauty of life. Everybody gets to make their own decisions. And if he wins the championship and winds up becoming a longtime NBA player, then who knows?
In poker, there's this thing called like being results oriented. I shouldn't have made that bet because the river came out and I lost. And you need to be process oriented.
Process oriented, yes.
Right. Like, so if he gets taken in the top 5 and things work out for him, you might be able to say, hey, well, he made the right decision. Of course, with hindsight, he made the right decision. But like, you can light a match and run through a gasoline factory. Even if you come out of the gasoline factory without catching anything on fire, doesn't mean it was the right decision. You know what I mean? Like, it does like but he's happy and they're doing well. They're a 1 seed. Yeah. They're awesome.
He's also still making significant money. He's still making 7 figures. That's the other part that you need to consider. And for some, and what he said is, I've not had money in my life. I've lived without it. I'm rich now compared to what I was. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So it's everybody gets to run their own race. And I kind of like that this era has shown us that it's not, because I think the assumption is it's always about the dollar. It's always about the bigger bag. It's not always about the bigger bag. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
But this is the one where I feel like the most people are like, wait, you should have just taken the bag, dude. What are you doing? All right, Ari, let us move down the mega board to Bama Online. So what now? This is from Blake Byler, who's one of the staff members at Bama Online. And in parentheses, Holloway thoughts. So this is regarding Aden Holloway's arrest on Monday. And we talked about it on Monday's show, but we're waiting for more details to come out before we could really dig into it. Nate Oates came out pretty quickly and said, we're planning on playing without him. And it's interesting because, Nate Oates has had some situations where they just played with the guy. This is not one of those. And he was very quickly was like, nah, we think he's done. And so this is their most accurate 3-point shooter, I believe, second leading scorer behind LeBaron Philon. They're going to have to change what they do a little bit without him. But this is a tough blow. But they found, and here's why I don't think Nate Oates really had much choice or why I don't think there was real decision to be made. So they found 2.1 pounds of marijuana when they searched Aden Holloway's residence. He apparently had been, this is according to police report, he had been advised of his rights to remain silent, but he said, I just smoke it. Which is, translation, I'm not selling this. This is for my own personal use. And look, if you're Willie Nelson or Snoop Dogg, maybe that is. Maybe Aden Holloway essentially shops for weed in bulk, like us going to Costco or Sam's for Cheez-Its.
I mean, I guess in the NIL era, if you could get 2 pounds for a better deal than 1 ounce at a time, then go for it. That seems highly unlikely.
But the state of Alabama doesn't look at it that way, unfortunately, for Brayden Holloway.
I don't know what 2 pounds of weed looks like in person, but it's a lot.
I think it's a brick, right?
That's a brick. I mean, because
it's a pretty significant.
their leaves.
You might have to shrink wrap this.
Yeah.
But no, no, that's not how it was stored. They apparently found weed in just various locations all over the house. It's sort of like, have you seen the movie Signs?
Yes.
With the water. Am I giving away the end of an M. Night Shyamalan movie? Yes, I am, because it's 20 years old and you should have already seen it.
Great movie. And I don't like sci-fi.
Yeah. It's like the girl with the glasses of water in Signs. It was just everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that gives away the end of the movie. Oh, it kind of does.
Yeah. Sorry. Spoilers.
Yeah, if you haven't, I'm gonna watch Signs tonight. God damn it, Andy. What is the expiration date on spoilers? Like a year, right? Like
I like 10 years. I'll go 10 years even.
But this is a amount of weed where it's probably not conceivable that you would be smoking that on your own. You can draw your own conclusions on that, and it's just a boneheaded decision from a talented player that hurts not only himself but his team. And it's just a shame to see that, like, it's like not worth the risk because you have everything in front of you.
Well, and it's a medical marijuana state, so if you could get the card, you could just smoke it anyway. But I don't believe you can keep that quantity. Alabama starts with Hofstra on Friday in Tampa. They should beat Hofstra fine. They should not need to beat the Pride. We may have to do a little bit of mascot quiz.
Yeah, no,
as we get closer.
What is it? Is it Cougars?
The Pride.
The Pride. I played on a Pop Warner team called the Pride.
We're looking at the Midwest region. St. Louis. What's their mascot?
No idea.
The Billikens.
Yeah, I knew that.
Like the Grinch, basically.
I had a crush on a girl like in 2014 that went there.
Howard, the 16 seed, play in Michigan.
Don't do this to me.
They're the Bison.
I knew that. You don't believe when you say it. I'm like, I knew that, but now I'm like nervous. Keep going.
Miami of Ohio playing SMU for an 11 seed to play against Tennessee.
Red Hawks.
What are they? They're Red Hawks. Okay.
Vivek Ramaswamy, is that how you say his name? Said there's too many universities in the state of Ohio this week, and it was hilarious watching people. So this guy's anti-action. It was like really funny.
Yeah, that is not a politically sound argument to stake out.
Yeah, you're gonna kill the conference. Like half the league is in Ohio. Relax, buddy.
Yeah, and the rest of it's in Michigan.
Yeah, and that's where I know the big ones.
Santa Clara.
No idea.
Right, the Broncos.
Yeah, I didn't know that one at all.
This is one of my fun. I'm sad the centenary gentlemen are not there.
Can you ask me like what Texas Tech is or Michigan just so I can get my back up?
That's not nearly as fun.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of these.
I'm not sure what Wright State is.
I know what TSU's is. You didn't ask me that because you know I wrote a feature about Eddie George. So
yeah, what's Tennessee State's?
Tennessee State is, I believe, the Tigers.
There you go.
You make the same noise for getting it right. Like as I
did just look up Wright State, by the way.
I should know this, and I don't know. I actually dated
the Raiders
there in high school, in college too, because I was in Ohio.
Well, here's an easy one. Another Maction team, Akron.
Zips.
Yes. And what is Zippy?
I don't know.
What kind of animal? You don't know what kind of animal Zippy is?
What is he?
He's a kangaroo.
Oh yeah, I remember now. My brain doesn't hold institutional knowledge like yours, Andy. So I've seen that kangaroo before, but that's not something I would.
You've seen that kangaroo a lot.
That's not something I would have been able to produce off the top of my head.
Well, getting back to Alabama, we've now gone through the mascots of the Midwest region that Alabama is in, but Jalil Bethea is the player who probably will be asked to fill the shoes of Aden Holloway, who hasn't been playing as much. He hadn't really gotten a chance to have everything click, so he's the one I think they're and obviously their other starters will be expected to knock down more shots. But Aden Holloway was the guy that if he catches it on the wing or he catches it in the corner, he's a 44% 3-point shooter. So that's what they've got to replace. That's what they've got to worry about. And if you're Alabama, that is probably not something you are particularly concerned about against Hofstra. But as you move through the tournament, it's
becomes
going to be
more of an issue.
Yeah. So they play the winner of Texas Tech Akron. And obviously Texas Tech with Topping Out is not as good as it could be. But It'll be interesting to see what Alabama does. But this is a team that can still go deep. But one of the things, like when Alabama really beats you, they're just raining threes on top of your head. So losing a 44% three-point shooter is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Ari, we move on to our friends at Husker Online. And by the way, our friends at Husker Online have some things to say on the mailbag show about your expectations for Nebraska football success. But right now, they are more interested in discussing Nebraska basketball success because this has been a revelatory season from Fred Hoiberg and the boys. But now comes the big one. Now comes the next step. Can Nebraska win its first NCAA tournament game?
How long's it actually been?
They've never won one.
It's been 84 years.
Yes. So on Husker Online, because listen, they're used to pain these days. They've gotten used to this. They have a gift yourself if we lose in NCAA round one again. And you've got it's been 84 years from Titanic. You've got Joffrey Baratheon jumping out the window in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You got the little critter that just buries himself in the grave. You've got Red from Shawshank, same old shit, different day. You've got the Will Ferrell wine gift. Like, it's just the classics.
Absolute
classics.
Yeah. What about the Ben Affleck outside smoking the cigarette one? That's got to be in there somewhere, right?
It's in there.
Yeah,
it's in there. You got Dwight Schrute just screaming. It's tremendous. You got Jeff Goldblum. Well, there it is. So this is going to be so much fun to watch because they've had a really good year this year, and I just want to see if they can they see it through, because it's not been one of those teams that like, okay, they've beaten the bad teams, but when they play the good teams, this has been a good team all year.
I mean, they're 13-point favorites in the first round against Troy. Like, let's not act like they're not supposed to win their game. They're supposed to win their first game. So, maybe we'll give Nebraska people something to celebrate. I'm very excited, and I'm assuming that we'll get to it on Thursday's show. What they had to say about my expectations for their football team.
Oh yeah, our friend Nate, who last we saw him, he was in Athens with a question. He had some very strong feelings about what you said, but they have strong feelings at Nebraska about their chances to finally get in the win column in the NCAA tournament. 0-8 in school history in NCAA tournament play. This is their chance.
Nebraska, of course, dude. Get it done.
Mule struck, by the way, in the thread, the perfect one. Charlie Brown trying to kick the football and Lucy snatching it away.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is your time, Huskers. This is your time. You can do it. I have faith. I believe in you. All right. One more Megaboard thread. We go to our friends at VolQuest.
Oh boy,
it's a nice palate cleanser.
I don't even. What the hell is this going to be all about now? Okay. So
Predvol asks the board, asks the community. That's the beauty of On3. It's a community, and so VolQuest is one of the ultimate communities at On3. Predvol asks, "What are the best ways to get back at my Wind-Chime neighbor? I get it if you live in the country and you like them, fine. But most people have neighbors these days. Who the hell are you to get to decide to grace us with your banging of metal and wood every time the wind blows? My eclectic neighbor must have found some at the hippie festival because they were banging and clanging all night. Help me think of some nonviolent retaliations."
I like how we had to specify nonviolent because the VolQuest is really going to come out with a crowbar. I agree with the original post. I think that if you are putting something on or around your house that is disruptive to your neighbors, that's inconsiderate, and you're an asshole. So I'm there. Funny ways to retaliate would be good. I
gotta say, the fellow posters not sympathetic to Predvol's plight, because you had a few that just said, "Why don't you go knock on their door and talk to them, jerk?" And then you had a few that said, basically, what's wrong with you? VFL 83, don't be a poor and buy a bunch of acres. My neighbors could have church bells and I couldn't hear them.
Don't be a poor is a wild thing to say to somebody. Buying a bunch of acres is kind of expensive, but I don't know. Maybe there's some parts of Tennessee where it's not. I have no idea. But, I mean, I can see my neighbor's house from my window here. I guess I'm a poor. I mean, I have this problem with animals. So, like, if you have a dog that barks all night, it makes me want to, like, murder you.
Well,
but I also
Tennessee Jed says start a pig farm. That'll show him.
Yeah.
I'm shocked at how unsympathetic the community was. I feel usually the On3 community is much more sympathetic than this, but the real Cobra One says, hate to break this to you, but Wind-Chime's been around for over 5,000 years. Maybe they just went to Home Depot to get theirs. That is my favorite part about the original post is they probably bought them at the hippie festival.
My parents had one in our backyard when I was a kid. So
we had them briefly when I was a kid, and we certainly didn't have acreage, but nobody seemed to mind.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like the metal ones are more pleasant than the wooden ones. I like the versus the.
I mean, also, I'm trying to think too, like, you're probably not going to hear that through I'm surprised he can hear it into his house.
Yeah. Well, don't be a poor.
There's a bigger point to all this. Like,
Okay.
He can complain about the wind all you want, but like Tennessee just had tornadic winds come through the other night. It's like it was that every night. Yeah, it's bad. But doubtful he has to deal with that a lot.
Producer River, you're a Vol for life. You live in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah,
he's from the country too,
and you're from the country.
Mm-hmm.
If your neighbor, but you don't live in the country anymore. You live in the big city now.
Yeah.
If your neighbor had some obnoxious wind chimes, what are you doing?
I don't know.
How are you retaliating?
I don't know how I'm retaliating, honestly. Like, I just deal with it. I wouldn't really complain.
You're too nice a person. You would actually have a conversation.
I would just actually just deal with it, not complain online. But that's just me.
Because the horrors of having a confrontation are much more hard on River's mind than actually like.
I gotta say though, because obviously members of VolQuest, also members of all Twitter, probably the Venn diagram is a circle.
They are.
I expected them to be much just given the opportunity to create scenarios for retribution. I figured they would enjoy that.
Yeah,
I was a little surprised at how reasonable they were about
Aren't wind chimes also incredibly common in the South in general?
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a big wind chime.
I don't think I've ever been in a neighborhood that didn't have them.
Yeah,
on multiple houses. So it's not really.
I mean, the most obvious way to retaliate is to walk over there with scissors and clip it off the thing and just leave it on the floor.
The wind broke it. I don't know what happens.
Yeah,
that is a crime.
Is it?
Yes.
Isn't there like a
it's their property and you're destroying it?
Yeah, I know, but isn't there like a threshold of the value of that property that like before it becomes a crime?
No.
Oh, so if you like,
it's always a crime if you destroy someone else's property. It gets worse the more money it costs.
Yeah, but I'm saying like there's nothing that like what are they going to do? Like, come on.
Well, I know what I would do.
What would you do if I clipped down your wind
chime? Buy bigger wind chimes and then hang them with steel cable that you can't cut unless you get the bolt cutter.
Steel cable wind chime. There you go.
That would be cool to see how big.
You know how loud steel cable wind chimes are going to be.
Getting a chainsaw and running the chainsaw at 2 a.m. would be a good way to get back at them.
Very Clark Griswold.
Because like the whole thing is that he's upset that he's being kept up. So I would do something that would keep them up.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Gentlemen, we've solved one guy's problem today. That's good. I don't think we've solved anybody else's problems. But
you know, the one suggestion in there, Andy, that fixes everything is just don't be a poor. Like that. Like, I mean, like honestly, is there a problem in the entire world that's not
solved? Take the $9 million from Kentucky when you can. That's the moral of the story. Then you don't have to live in it next to anyone with wind chimes. Schedule update. Tomorrow's show, we normally drop them in the afternoon, but we know you all want to watch basketball. Tomorrow's show will drop at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and then we will be live at 10 a.m. Eastern on Friday. Ari will be in Vegas. I will still be in the Keys. But we will talk about everything that happened on Thursday in the NCAA tournament, all the upsets, all the big shots. We'll discuss it. We'll break it down and get you ready for Friday's game. So Thursday and Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's the show. Because listen, we all want to watch basketball just like you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.